This is The Theories of Charles Beard by L. Wright. Charles Beard was an extremely influential historian in the early 20th century who attended Oxford and Columbia University and was later a Columbia professor. He was a leading figure in the progressive school of historiography. He believed that economic interests were the key drivers of political behavior, and he applied this theory not just to modern politics, but also the nation's founding. In 1913, Charles Beard published a book called An Economic Interpretation of the Constitution of the U.S. His paper included historical and current data, along with interpretations of American history. In Beard's work, he strived to prove that the founding fathers of the U.S. designed the Constitution as not purely democratic and actually to benefit the upper class and allow them to hold on to their power. If he could prove the selfishness of America's founders, it would open the door for more reforms and looser interpretations of the Constitution to support the working class better. The Founding Fathers were motivated by their self-interest, and the Constitution ensured that any property they owned remained in their possession, as if holding on to them was more important than the state itself. Wealthy landowners feared that the working class would seize their lands, so the checks and balances, along with the three branches of government, ensured that no one would have full control over the government. The separation of powers was designed not just to prevent tyranny, but to prevent popular change. Beard made specific arguments in his paper, like Shays' Rebellion, which showed how uprisings threatened property owners. Charles Beard divided Americans at the time into two economic groups: personalty, which were people who owned movable wealth, such as stocks or bonds, and the realty interest group, which were people who owned fixed land, such as farmers. Original voting laws, the Electoral College, and the First Senate model showed how our government gave a voice to the wealthy. The Senate was not directly elected by the people. The Electoral College was diluted direct popular power, and the Supreme Court was able to cut down laws that were passed by elected officials. Many American politicians were outraged by Beard's opinion that the Constitution was not made with the common interest in mind and was instead written for selfish and economic reasons. Many politicians instead thought that our founders were guided by Enlightenment ideals and a commitment to democracy. On the other hand, Beard's work shifted how historians and theorists understand the Constitution and allowed them to debate the reasoning behind historical documents. Overall, Charles Beard's work reminds people how history is complex and power played a role in shaping our federal government. In the 1960s and beyond, Charles Beard and his ideas were revived by many scholars. People started to ask deeper questions about who benefits from laws and systems in America. Beard's arguments can be seen in modern-day discussions about economic inequality, corporate influence in politics, and campaign finance. So why do Charles Beard's ideas still matter today? He reminds the American people that history isn't just about dates and documents. It's about real people with complex intentions, power, and money. If we want to understand how our government works, or more like who it works for, we have to ask tough questions and think unbiasedly, just like Charles Beard did.